Few individuals would claim that they'd be willing to offer up their own lives in order to aid another, and it's even more astonishing to envision an untamed creature performing such an act for a stranger. Consequently, when a pack of wolves leaped in front of a train, the train operator was left in disbelief as they sought to comprehend the reason behind this unexpected behavior. Daniel found himself immersed in the world of railways in a quaint village. His route, albeit a modest one connecting local villages and the nearby city, held a special place in his heart. The tracks meandered through the serene local woods, providing a picturesque backdrop for his daily journeys. His affinity for trains traced back to his childhood, where he accompanied his father and grandfather, both seasoned train drivers, on their rounds. These outings instilled in Daniel a deep-rooted passion for the railroad. As he matured, Daniel recognized the local railway depot as his ticket to a stable livelihood. Thus, he resolved to follow in his father's footsteps. After reaching the appropriate age, he departed for the nearby city to attend college and study engineering, a path his forebears had tread. This decision was driven by the knowledge that the qualifications would enable him to secure a more substantial income at the rail depot. Upon obtaining an engineering degree, Daniel received enticing job offers from prominent, bustling city stations. Yet, he found the urban, fast-paced lifestyle in an overcrowded environment disheartening. His heart yearned for the tranquility of his hometown and its lush, peaceful surroundings. Ultimately, Daniel returned to his roots, back to the rustic charm of his local rail station, nestled amidst the enchanting forests and serene nature he cherished. At first, because of his lack of experience, Daniel was given the job of being a second driver. This meant that he had to work with a senior driver to learn all of the ins and outs of the job. After a few months, Daniel was deemed ready enough to take over a train as the first driver. He was assigned to drive freight trains, and he drove them throughout Siberia. It was while he was driving one of these trains, though, that he came across something that would change his life forever. It had started out as a normal day for Daniel. He got up and went to his local train depot where he was assigned a freight train to drive for the day. Being the middle of winter, Daniel loved driving through the freshly fallen snow and seeing the pristine beauty of the forest as it was covered in the powdery, soft, frozen water. He was driving through a particularly remote section on his journey, an area surrounded by forests on either side, when he noticed a strange dark object on the tracks about 2 miles in front of him. At first, Daniel couldn't make out what the object was as it was too far away, but as the train got closer to it, the driver soon discovered what was causing the obstruction. There were animals, more specifically a pack of wolves, and it didn't look like they were going to move off the tracks anytime soon. Not wanting to harm the animals, Daniel blew the train whistle, but none of the wolves moved. The driver tried it several more times, but the creatures were stubborn and refused to get off the tracks. As the train got closer, Daniel knew that he would have to make a decision. He could keep the train going and potentially run over the entire pack of wolves, or he could stop the train and try to move the pack before resuming his journey. After only a moment's hesitation, Daniel pulled the emergency stop lever, and the train slowly skidded to a halt. As the wheels screeched against the tracks, Daniel could only hope that the vehicle would stop in time so as not to hurt the animals on the tracks. He closed his eyes, unable to look at what could be a tragic moment. Thankfully, though, the train came to a stop a short distance away from the pack of wolves, and Daniel let out a relieved sigh. When Daniel opened his eyes to make sure that all of the animals were okay, he noticed that they were acting rather strangely. They had all started to howl and had formed a small circle as if hiding something in the middle of it. With the train now stopped and the danger gone, the animals began to move off the tracks and back into the forest. As they left, though, Daniel saw something that he simply couldn't believe. Lying on the tracks in what would have been the middle of the circle of wolves looked to be a person. From the train, Daniel couldn't properly make out who it was, but he knew that he couldn't simply leave them lying in the freezing cold in such a dangerous spot. Looking around for a weapon of some kind in case any of the wolves tried to get too close, Daniel came across a poker and picked it up. He scanned the woods one last time to make sure that the animals had truly left before he ventured out of the train cabin and onto the tracks below. The driver cautiously made his way over to the figure on the tracks and gasped when he came to understand what was actually happening. Lying right in front of him was a woman, and she appeared to be pregnant. Daniel rushed over the last few feet to check if the woman was still breathing. After feeling her neck for a pulse, the driver began to gently shake the woman to see if she was okay. The woman woke up groggily and looked up at the driver. Seeing that she was awake, Daniel asked her if she was okay to walk, and then he gently helped her up onto her feet. He led the freezing cold woman back to the train cabin, where he wrapped a thick blanket around her to warm her up, and gave her a mug of coffee that he kept with him. Once the young woman had warmed up and was able to speak properly, Daniel asked her how she had found herself in such an awful situation. The woman explained to him that she had gone for a walk in the woods as she had thought that they looked so beautiful with the snow. As she had been following the path, she suddenly heard a low growl behind her. She had turned to look and had seen a bear not too far away. Terrified, she had fled in any direction that she could until the bear eventually gave up and left her alone. Once she was safe, though, the woman looked around and realized that she did not know the part of the woods that she had ended up in, but she did not want to follow her tracks back as the bear was in that direction. Hoping that she might find a local village, the woman had walked through the woods looking for any kind of help. Just as she was about to give up hope, the pack of wolves appeared from the woods. At first, the woman was scared that they were going to hurt her, but what they actually did shocked her. Approaching the woman, the alpha of the pack sniffed around her abdomen, seemingly grasping her expectant condition. Emitting a howl that echoed through the air, the wolf turned toward its companions and initiated a determined gaze. Then it set off in a specific direction, casting occasional glances back at the woman, as if urging her to follow. Facing a perilous situation and recognizing the potential peril of remaining exposed, endangering both herself and her unborn child, she opted to heed the canine's guidance. The wolves led her to a set of train tracks, yet as she neared them, an unseen rock caused her to stumble, resulting in a fall that rendered her unconscious. This was how Daniel discovered her, lying motionless on the tracks. Upon learning her story, Daniel was awestruck. The wolves had been instrumental in saving the lives of both the woman and her baby, shielding them from the harsh cold. Determined to ensure their safe return, Daniel readied the train for departure. As the locomotive started its journey, an intriguing sight emerged from the trees. The wolf pack, attentively observing the train's progress, seemingly ensuring the duo's escape. As the train gained momentum, the silhouettes of the wolves gradually faded from view. Yet, the memory of that day remained etched in both Daniel and the woman's minds, a testament to the selfless act that had preserved their innocence. The wolves' willingness to jeopardize their own safety had transformed an ordinary day into an unforgettable tale of courage and rescue. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. Thank you.